Hello, friend. Thank you for being here. This isn't random, and it's not meaningless because maybe what you whispered to the universe years ago is finally making its way back to you right now in this very moment, and maybe the thing you thought you had lost forever is quietly finding its way home now that you've stopped searching. So if your heart feels like something is about to open, stay with me. Don't walk away just yet, because what we're about to begin is not just a message, it's a journey, deeper, quieter, and more perfectly timed than you realize. Now, let's begin with one simple but powerful question. Do you believe that you're here right now for a reason? Have you ever wondered why you stumble upon something like this? A video, a passing quote, a glance that lingers, a quiet voice inside that says, "Stop." Some will call it coincidence, but I don't believe in coincidence. To me, every moment in this life carries the touch of something unseen. Sometimes the universe, sometimes God, sometimes a deeper version of yourself trying to lead you home. And if you Aries are listening to this right now, on a day that feels just like any other, I want you to know one thing. You didn't land here out of curiosity. You were guided here because you're finally ready to remember what you once prayed for. There were words you whispered long ago, in moments when doors quietly closed behind disappointment, when your head dropped in the dark and there was no one left to call, when it was just you, alone. And yet you still sent out a prayer, not knowing if anyone was really listening. And today, part of that prayer is slowly making its way back to you. I don't speak as a prophet. I speak as someone who's walked through shadows. You might have walked too. So trust me when I say this. You're not lost. You're just walking through the fog right now. Every choice you've made, every regret you've carried, every dream you locked away inside your heart was never forgotten. There's a greater order guiding it all, what the Buddha called karma and what God calls divine timing. Have you felt it lately? That quiet strangeness in the air, waking up at night for no reason, hearing a song from years ago and it hits differently, seeing the same numbers over and over, 11, 11, 444, 333, and wondering, is this a sign? I won't give you the answer because the truth is you already have it. All you need is a moment like this to hear the voice inside you again, the one you've tried to silence. That voice is saying, you don't need to become anyone else. You just need to come back to who you've always been. Maybe you're in between chapters right now. Work doesn't excite you anymore. An old relationship still lingers somewhere in your chest, or worse, you're not even sure what you want anymore. I don't have a magic cure for that, but I can offer you this truth. One I had to learn the hard way. You weren't born to suffer. You were born to rise through it, not by fighting harder, but by remembering something simple. There's a light inside you, and light doesn't need to prove itself. It just needs to be revealed. You've prayed, you've held on to hope, even if it was just a flicker in the dark. You've kept going, even when you had no reason left, and now, I believe you've reached a sacred intersection, a place where signs become reality. So if lately you've noticed strange moments, a breeze in the middle of heat, a stranger smiling at you for no reason, a song playing at the exact second you needed to hear it, don't dismiss them. Pause, pay attention. Believe this. Universe isn't random. You didn't arrive here by accident. You're not hearing this by mistake. You're here because something is finally beginning to open. And if something is stirring in your chest right now, please share it. Even if it's just one line, even if it's just a few words, because the truth you release today might be the answer someone else is praying to hear. Healing doesn't begin with understanding. It begins with connection, through stories we've never told, and moments we didn't know could matter. And when you begin to listen, you'll start to notice something sacred returning. What you gave in silence, what you offered without applause, what you sacrificed without recognition is coming back to you, not in loud celebration, not in grand gestures, but in a quiet, divine balance, making its way home to your heart. And now, we'll continue with exactly that, because when you feel that balance settling in, you'll begin to see the universe is already returning what you were always meant to receive, tenfold. There's a kind of silence in life that only those who have given too much will ever truly understand. It's when you expect nothing, and yet your heart still aches, when no one gives anything back. It's when you offer kindness, care, sleepless nights, and quiet sacrifices just to keep someone else at peace. When you give, not out of duty, but because your heart genuinely cares. And then one day you realize, no one ever asked if you were okay. People born under Aries are often so strong others forget. You get tired too. You're always the one to take the lead, the first to rise, the first to fall and still carry the weight. You've learned to suffer in silence, to pick yourself back up after every fall, and still wear a smile even when your heart is bleeding inside. But listen closely, because there's one truth I want you to remember deeply. No act of love is ever meaningless. When you give, you don't lose. You plant a kind of light that the world might not see right away, but the universe does, and so does God. Maybe you gave your heart to the wrong person. Maybe you were betrayed, used, misunderstood. But don't let that pain steal your nature. Don't bury that light just to survive the darkness. Because right now, something is beginning to shift. A gift is coming back to you, not necessarily in the same form, not the same person returning, not the apology you've been waiting for, but a new state of being is looking for you. One where you no longer have to carry it all alone, where the energy you once gave away is now flowing back like a quiet wave of healing. You'll feel it in softer glances, in lighter relationships, in the surprises that show up when you least expect them. There are things you did for others that they'll never admit, but don't let their silence make you question your worth, because light doesn't need applause, it shines anyway, and now that light of yours is being reflected back from places you never imagined, from people you thought had forgotten you, from the very peace you're now entering. I once heard a verse from Scripture: "Give and it will be given to you. A good measure pressed down, shaken together and running over." You gave from the depths of your heart, and now God is opening a door of blessing, not to make you feel proud, but to remind you you were never invisible. Has anyone ever made you feel like you weren't enough, that your love was too much, your sacrifices unnecessary? If so, I want you to look at yourself now, at the compassion you still carry, at the wisdom you've earned, at the heart that's still warm after everything. That is your answer. You have nothing left to prove. Your presence is enough. And now I have a question for you. Who is the person you once loved most? The one you waited for, sacrificed for, let go of your pride for, and never spoke a word? Did they come back? Did they ever see you differently? If you feel ready, share that memory in the comments below. Not to seek sympathy, but to remind yourself you once loved beautifully, and if you love that deeply, then the gift waiting for you will be just as beautiful. Life sometimes feels like it's repeating, but in the stillness everything is changing. You are no longer who you were yesterday. You no longer give out of fear of losing. You give because you understand how powerful it is to keep a gentle heart in a harsh world, and that makes you different. That makes you worthy of something greater. The gift coming your way won't be loud. It won't call your name or knock like a storm. It'll arrive in stillness, like morning light spilling across your window, like a soft dream you don't want to wake from. It will come when you're ready to receive it without guilt. And when you do, not with hands that are needy, but with a heart that's open, another current will begin to flow like a hidden spring, breaking through stone, quiet but unstoppable, and that will be abundance. But this time, abundance that is right. Right path, right people, right moment. Not everyone who talks about money truly understands the relationship between spirituality and finances. Not all prosperity leads to freedom. There are people with more money than they can count, yet they curl up in fear every night, afraid of losing it all. And there are others who live with almost nothing, yet their eyes shine with a peace no amount of gold could buy. You and Aries, you've lived with fire, you've dreamed big, you've taken bold steps, and you've also tasted quiet disappointment. When your honest efforts didn't bring the results you hoped for, you've asked, why do I work so hard and still struggle to get by? Why do others get things easily, while I have to fight for every inch? That's a deep question. And the answer isn't in how you're doing things, but in where you started from. You know, when a seed is planted in fear, it only grows in anxiety, but when it's planted in light, in faith, in integrity, even if it takes time, it will bloom. Money is not evil, and money is not the final destination. It's simply a reflection of what you believe, what you choose, and how you live each day. In Buddhist teachings, no one says wealth is a sin. Suffering begins when we cling, when we crave, when we betray our essence for the sake of money. I believe true wealth begins when you live in alignment with your inner truth, and then the outer world slowly adjusts itself to that truth. I used to live with fear for a long time, fear of failing, fear of not having enough, fear of how others would see me when I didn't succeed the way they expected me to. And then one day I let go. I stopped choosing the safe path. I stopped doing what drained me, just to look okay on the outside. I started chasing what lit up my heart, even if I had no idea where it would lead, and strangely, the money began to flow in, little by little. No drama, no noise, it came like a friend, gentle and right on time. If you've ever worked in silence, if you've ever given, sacrificed, endured, if you've ever wondered whether anyone sees what you do, then today I say this to you, with absolute certainty in my heart. The universe sees, God sees, and life is quietly rearranging itself so you can receive what you truly deserve, not so you can sit on piles of cash and feel empty, but so you can feel safe in your own skin, so you know you have the right to choose, so you're no longer shackled by the fear of lack. Have you ever started your career over? Chosen a path others called crazy? Traded safety for freedom? If the answer is yes, tell your story, even just a small piece, even just a few lines, because your journey might be the whisper of strength for another Aries right now. Someone standing at the edge of change but still hesitating. What you've been through might just be the map for someone who's lost their way. Prosperity isn't about your bank account. It's in the way you wake up each morning. Do you feel free? Do you feel at peace? It's in the meals you eat. Do you feel grateful? It's in the way you do your work. Is there joy? Is there passion? Is your spirit present? When you live like that, money doesn't come because you beg for it. It comes because you are worthy of it, because you've matched the frequency of truth, faith, and the light within you. Remember this, money loves no one, but it reflects who someone truly is. And when you begin to live in truth, when you believe your inner light is enough, when you stop shrinking to fit a world that was never built for you, that's when the right flow of abundance begins. Not just money, but a wealth that rises from within, a kind of prosperity that no one can take from you. And then, as you begin to walk to the rhythm of your own heart, that heart begins to speak, a voice you once abandoned after being broken too many times, after giving up on love, after telling yourself, maybe I'm not worth being loved one more time. Hello again. There are things we thought had ended, but then on a moonless night, as you sit alone by the window, the wind gently brushing the sheer curtain, a familiar name returns, not because anyone mentioned it, not because of anything you saw, it just came back, like a faint scent you can't place, like a melody only your heart can hear. Have you ever felt that? Someone you believed you'd forgotten long ago suddenly appears in a dream, quietly echoes in an old song, or shows up in the way two strangers hold hands on the street. Sometimes we think love ends when someone walks away, when the messages stop, when their voice becomes a memory, when hands no longer hold hands. But the truth is, love doesn't always need a clear ending. Sometimes love doesn't break with a scream. It fades quietly, like a raindrop that never fell. Some relationships were never meant to be finished, and some feelings are still waiting to be released. I'm not saying you should go back. I'm not telling you to hold on to someone who left. I'm simply inviting you to listen with an honest heart. Because if someone still shows up in your mind, not as a sad memory, but as a question that was never answered, then maybe it's a connection left open, an unfinished bond, a lesson not yet complete. And to move forward, not to love again, but to live lighter, you need to understand where it's coming from. Real love doesn't ask you to hold on. Real love is when you can look back and no longer flinch. It's when you understand some people only came into your life to teach you how to love yourself. And in the end, it's not about them leaving. It's about what you still carry in your heart. Is it faith? Is it regret? An unspoken sentence? Or is it a part of yourself you still refuse to let go? Has someone ever made you feel almost enough, loved you almost fully, but left without closure? Was someone once the light in your heart, but because of fear or bad timing, the two of you passed like stars in separate skies? If so, you might still be carrying a shard of something unnamed. I once heard someone say, not all unfinished stories need an ending. Some just need to be understood, forgiven, and let go like a leaf falling in season. Are you willing to do that today? Can you face your own heart without labeling right or wrong, without calling it failure, but simply to say one honest thing? Maybe you don't need them to come back. Maybe you just need to know the love you gave was real. And real love, even if brief, leaves a mark that lasts forever in the soul's journey. If something inside you just sighed, if a shadow flickered in your chest, if your throat tightened just a little, then please don't stay silent. Right? even just a few words, even if no one else understands. Write to release, write to let go, write to remind yourself that you once loved with your whole heart, and that is enough to make you beautiful, because when your heart is unburdened, you'll begin to hear the true voice inside you, the one you tried to silence, with work, with distractions, with someone new. That voice doesn't come from the outside. It doesn't ask you to do anything. It only asks you one thing: have you truly lived for yourself? Because after all the unfinished loves, after all the lingering shadows, you'll realize the one soul you truly need to reconnect with is your own. One day you wake up and realize you no longer belong to the world that once meant everything to you. Maybe it's the job you've held for half your life. Maybe it's a group of friends who once felt like home. Maybe it's a routine, familiar and safe, that's now starting to suffocate you. Everything around you stays the same, but something inside you has changed. You quietly observe and suddenly feel like a guest in your own life. You hear the laughter, but your heart no longer echoes it. You still show up. You still get things done. You still smile. But deep inside, a quiet voice whispers, "This is no longer your path, dear Aries. You are the pioneer, the first to walk when the road hasn't been paved, but you're also the one most easily caught in the cycle of duty, of expectations, of what's been labeled as right. You've learned to endure, you've learned to settle, you've learned to call it maturity, until one day, you just can't pretend anymore, not because you're weak, but because your soul has begun to whisper. It wants to go home. In Buddhist teachings, this is called returning to the true path, the road that aligns with your soul's original vow. It doesn't look like anyone else's. There's no map, no guidebook, no footsteps to follow. And that's exactly why you were chosen, because you were never meant to follow. You were born to lead. I once thought I had failed. I felt out of place because I wasn't like the rest. I forced myself to blend in, to be normal. But then I understood. I wasn't lost. I was just trying to live a life that wasn't mine. Have you ever felt that way? Like screaming in the middle of a meeting, like disappearing for a few days, hoping no one would find you, like staring into the mirror and not recognizing the person staring back. If your heart feels restless, if your old dreams no longer move you, if you feel like you're standing outside your own life, then maybe it's not that you've lost your way. It's that you're being called back to the path that was always yours. Maybe there's a dream inside you, one you've never dared to speak out loud, a dream buried beneath bills and expectations, mocked by others, dismissed as unrealistic, because someone once told you you weren't good enough. Today, I invite you to write it down. You don't need to show anyone, just face yourself. Write it to remember you still have hope. Write it to remind yourself the dream isn't dead. It's just been waiting for you to be brave enough to come back to it. Now, imagine a life you truly chose, not one shaped by your parents' wishes, not one built for security, not one crafted for a resume, a life where you wake up and don't have to pretend, where you do what lights up your soul even if no one claps, where you can look yourself in the mirror and smile because you were honest. That life won't arrive overnight. It takes courage. It may ask you to walk alone, at least in the beginning. It will ask you to believe that even if no one's watching, no one's waiting, you're still worth the journey. Yes, you'll be afraid of losing, afraid of being laughed at, afraid of taking the wrong step. But remember this, the real fear is ignoring the voice inside you, because if you don't live your truth, who will live that life for you? And if today, you just needed one sign to begin, this is it. No flashing lights, no loud announcements, just a whisper. It's time to go home, back to your essence, back to your truth, back to the road that no one else can walk because it was made for you. And when you finally take that step, when you choose to believe in a path no one else can see, there will be a rare gift waiting at the end. Not money, not fame, but something you've been aching for all these years. Joy, pure, unshakable joy. Joy without needing a reason. Joy you thought was lost, but it was always yours, and it's been waiting for you to come home. There's a strange feeling that only those who have lost themselves will understand. It's when even the things that once brought you joy suddenly feel distant. A familiar song plays, but you feel nothing. A warm meal is served, but you eat like a machine. Laughter surrounds you, and you smile, but inside you feel hollow. How long have you been living like that? I know, because I've been there too. I used to think happiness was a reward for those who had suffered enough, that I had to deserve it, had to work for it, had to fight for it before I could touch anything close to real joy. But you know what? Joy doesn't arrive after the storm. It's always been there, waiting quietly for you to become still enough to feel it. Like a seed buried deep beneath the earth, the joy inside you is still alive, still breathing, still warm, still waiting to grow. You don't have to do anything more. You just need to stop clouding your own light, because joy doesn't come from the outside. It doesn't knock on your door like breaking news. It whispers like the morning breeze. It shines like sunlight slipping through a crack in the wall. It touches you like a gentle hand resting on your chest and says softly, "You've made it home." I once believed I needed success to feel joy, recognition, someone to choose me, to keep me, to praise me, but all those needs were just empty spaces inside me, begging to be seen. True joy doesn't come from anyone else. It begins the moment you accept yourself fully, unconditionally. And if you're listening to this right now and your tears are close, don't hold them back. Maybe this is the moment your joy is returning, not the kind that explodes like fireworks, but a softer kind of light, like an arm wrapped around your shoulders from behind, like a sigh of relief. After a long journey you've walked all alone, you don't need to pretend to be okay anymore. You don't have to smile so others feel safe. You don't have to prove anything. Just open your heart and let joy walk back in. And if somewhere during this journey, a single sentence stirred something in you, a single image made you pause, a single thought made you look inward, then share it. Even just a sentence, even just a few words, even if no one reads it, write it down, because maybe the story you've been holding in your heart is the light someone else needs to heal. That person might be an Aries sitting alone in a dark room, might be someone about to give up, or maybe it's the future version of you coming back to read what you had the courage to admit today. We're always searching for joy somewhere far away, in love, in money, in status, in someone's eyes, but someday, after enough distance, enough loss, enough awakening, you'll see it clearly. Joy was never gone. It's been waiting for you to return. Thank you for listening with an open heart. Thank you for walking through all these layers of emotion with me. And I hope you'll be quiet enough to hear your soul's voice and brave enough to follow that light, even if it's just one small step today.